Hello. I'd like to welcome you all to HR.com's Institute for Human Resources webcast, Focus Forward, Building Leaders at Campbell Soup Company. My name is Debbie Levine, and I'm a consultant with CPP, the exclusive publisher of the Myers-Briggs assessment and provider with global solutions for leadership and professional development, team building, conflict management, and retention. I'll be moderating today's webcast, and in just a moment, we'll be introducing our featured speaker, Emily Riggs. But first, a little bit about today's webcast. Leadership is an attribute that all individuals have, regardless of their level in any organization. Campbell Soup Company develops its leaders with a culture based on a clear and inspiring leadership model, manager training, self-awareness and feedback tools, and top-tier leadership experiences. Using a number of customized and best practice tools such as the Myers-Briggs Personality Assessment, Johari Window, and the Speed of Trust, Campbell Soup Company focuses on a future of success by developing leadership at all levels. Today, we're going to explore how Campbell Soup Company as an organization and share how its leadership programs and practices support the company's strategic direction. Today's webcast will run approximately for an hour, and the last 10 to 15 minutes we'll reserve for Q&A. During the presentation, if you all think of questions, please go ahead and submit them to me using the questions function on the GoToWebinar controls. Now, I'd like to introduce our featured speaker. I'm excited to welcome Emily Riggs, Senior Manager of Human Resources with Campbell Soup Company. In this role, as well as her former role as Manager of Human Resources with Pepperidge Farm, Emily provides expertise in the areas of individual and team development. Using tools such as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator to create a common language, Emily has increased team efficiency across these organizations. Emily has also held positions at Gap and Marriott. She holds a bachelor's degree in Human Resources and Marketing from University of Arizona and a master's degree in Human Resources Development and Organizational Management from Manhattanville College in New York. Please join me in welcoming Emily, and now I'd like to turn the webcast over to her. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks, Debbie. I'm really happy to be here today to talk about Campbell Soup Company and our leadership development programs. Before I get into our content today, I would like to recognize just two other individuals in Campbell Soup Company. Jackie Scanlon, who is our Vice President, Global Talent Management and Organization Effectiveness. She oversees all of Campbell's talent management programs and is responsible for the company's employee as well as organization development initiatives. She also leads the Campbell's core people processes across the globe. Elizabeth Walker, the Director of Global Talent Management, is an individual who works with us that has nearly 20 years of HR experience as well as organizational development experience with a very deep expertise in talent management and development. Both of these wonderful ladies have been instrumental and have been driving a lot of the work that I'm going to talk to you about today. The purpose of today's session is to share an overview of Campbell Soup Company, our talent management strategy, our leadership philosophy, as well as a few examples on how we develop our leaders. To do this, we're going to understand how leadership development helps support Campbell's business strategies, also provide a little bit of context of our talent management philosophy and initiatives across Campbell Soup to help better understand the leadership programs as well as the tools and assessments I'll be talking about, and also to create a forum for sharing and questions at the end. The agenda for today, I'll do a brief Campbell Soup Company overview, then I'll go into talent management, then on to leadership at all levels, then a few lessons of Doug Conant, who was our CEO who just stepped down this past year, and then a wrap-up and summary. The scope of today, as an organization, we focus on development at all levels of the organization, whether it's the employee, manager, leader, or functional excellence. For today's session, however, the scope will be around manager and leadership development. A brief overview of Campbell Soup Company. As an organization, we're committed to focus forward. We are looking ahead and outward on consumers in order to create our future, and we have a focus to set clear, simple goals to prioritize the work that we do. We're looking forward constantly to look ahead and lead the change to be able to provide our consumers with that great experience that they come to expect from the Campbell's brand. This is being driven by our new Campbell President and CEO, Denise Morrison. Denise began her tenure as CEO and President this past August, the beginning of our fiscal year. She's the 12th leader in the company's 142-year history. She was elected as a director of the company in October 2010. She actually came to Campbell in '03 as Chief Customer Officer and President of Global Sales, so she's been working with the organization and with our prior CEO, Doug Conant, for many years. She's also previously worked at Kraft, Nabisco, Nestle, Pepsi, and Procter & Gamble. In addition to her great depth of expertise that she brings to the organization, she also serves on the Grocery Manufacturers Association Board and chairs its Health and Wellness Committee. She is also a founding member and current board member of the Healthy Weight Commitment Foundation. We're really very excited to have Denise as our new leader of Campbell Soup Company. I'd like to share a little bit about our mission and strategic framework. As an organization, we believe, and our mission is, that together we will build the world's most extraordinary food company by nourishing people's lives everywhere, every day. To help drive this mission, we have created a strategic framework that captures 3 growth strategies and 6 key enabling strategies. As you can see here, our growth strategies are stabilize and then profitably grow North America soup and simple meals, expand our international presence, and continue to drive growth in healthy beverages and baked snacks. The enabling strategies that will help us achieve these growth strategies are to strengthen our brand and product equities, deliver meaningful innovation, grow faster with strategic customers, leverage external development, drive cost and margin management, and create a high-performance organization. I share these with you today specifically because the leadership of our organization is going to help drive all of these, whether it's a growth or an enabling strategy. What we do and have been doing here in Human Resources is directly influence creating a high-performance organization through our leadership programs. This subsequently then helps achieve the rest of our business strategies. In addition to this, we also have the way we work, which is to positively contribute to building and sustaining a safe, diverse, inclusive, engaged, and socially responsible workplace focused on delivering business results with integrity. Laying the foundation for the way we work are our values. Character, competence, and teamwork are values that we live by every day as we go about doing our jobs and striving to meet our strategic goals. Before I get into more specifics around our leadership programs, it's important to share with you our leadership model. This model has 6 leadership expectations: inspire trust, create direction, drive organizational alignment, build organizational vitality, execute with excellence, and produce extraordinary results. Our leadership model is fundamental in all of our leadership programs and is expected that this is the how we go about doing our daily jobs and how we embrace leadership here at Campbell Soup Company. More on this in a minute. Campbell Soup Company is an organization where we have several products in the marketplace. We are actually the world's #1 soup manufacturer, and our V8 brand is the world's #1 vegetable juice brand. We also have the world's #1 children's cracker, and we are the world's #3 cookie and cracker manufacturer. Campbell Soup Company actually has 18,000 employees worldwide, and we market all these products in more than 100 countries. Believe it or not, there is at least one Campbell product in 94% of U.S. households, which translates into roughly $8 billion in sales annually. When we think about winning in the workplace and winning in the marketplace, we have focused efforts on our CSR efforts on a 10-year robust plan to improve lives. This is bucketed in 4 different areas. We have nourishing our customers, which is to continually advance the nutrition and wellness profile of our product portfolio. Nourishing our employees, we're looking to achieve 100% employee engagement in CSR and sustainability. Nourishing our neighbors, to measurably improve the health of young people in our hometown communities, and to nourish our planet, to cut the environmental footprint of our product portfolio in half. This is aggressive goals that we have as an organization to improve lives. In addition to this, Campbell has earned recognition on many fronts. We've received recognition for the quality of our workplace, including the G.R.O.W. Great Workplace Award, the Catalyst Award for Advancing Women in Business, and the Great Place to Work Awards in New Jersey, Connecticut, and Canada. Campbell's is also recognized as a leader in diversity and inclusion, which we view as a strategic priority. We have cultural events and training in 8 affinity groups in our organization. We're also committed to winning in the community and winning with integrity, and our efforts are being widely recognized in both areas. For instance, in 2011, we were named to the Corporate Responsibility Magazine's list of the 100 Best Corporate Citizens for the 2nd year in a row. Some things to share with you that we're very proud of. Now that's a little bit about Campbell Soup Company as an overview. I'd like to focus on our talent management area. And this year we've declared a focus on our talent management capability and to elevate our focus on our programs, processes, and future leaders of the organization. We're trying to create and sustain momentum around this by doing a few things very specifically. First is gaining an outside-in perspective with external research, really seeking to understand what's happening out there in the market, what are best practices, and learning as much as we can from that. We also have created a global center of expertise grounded in the business and supporting the strategic direction. It's important that when we think about talent management, it's constantly with the business hat on as well as linking it to the strategic direction and supporting those enabling strategies and growth strategies. In addition to that, we're establishing a consistent talent management language, including manager and leadership development. I'll share our model with you in a moment. We're also involving and engaging the HR function and business leaders as catalysts and supporters of change. And along the way, it's important to achieve and promote development wins across the organization. Our talent management model outlines the talent responsibilities that our managers and HR own. As you can see here, we have a model that is a flywheel where we acquire, integrate, engage, manage performance, develop, move, and assess our talent in order to build our talent capabilities. This model is fed by the business strategy and the workforce plan. For today, I'm going to talk a lot about the develop part of our talent model and what we do specifically for our managers and our leaders. We approach developing our leaders from all levels and at various stages in their career. First, we lay the foundation with manager quality. We know that building the capability to manage others and positively influence the employment experience is necessary in a person's leadership journey, in addition to driving ultimate performance from our employees. So that is our first building block of leadership. Then we continue to build leadership capability throughout an individual's career through ongoing development, which includes tools such as Myers-Briggs and other self-awareness activities. At the top, we have Mastering Your Leadership Voice with our CEO Institute. I'm going to spend time going over examples of each one of these more specifically. First, manager quality. As an organization, we must continually to focusing on strengthening this management team. Our managers are a key leverage point in our organization. They are the few that directly impact many. We have approximately 3,000 managers that impact the performance of 16,000 employees. These managers lead our human capital, our employees, and they are the most costly and variable asset that we have. So we try to develop these managers through development, performance management, hiring, and other people practices. The way we do this is by understanding what the moments of truth are for a manager. We define moments of truth as the conversations and the touch points when manager quality is tested and how these interactions can make or break the employee experience. When we think about onboarding an employee, it's that make or break it experience of how someone comes into the organization or how an internal person comes into your team. The moment of truth of performance and development feedback, those conversations where you're guiding and directing individuals. Career development and transition discussions, compensation discussions. These are moments of truth that are very personal to the employee, and we believe that these are make it or break it experiences for employees. Work-life and personal request discussions, promotion discussions, All of these are times when managers are touching their employees one-on-one, and we use this as a way to talk to managers and a way to create programs to help them leverage these moments for a positive experience for our employees and to help drive the performance of the individuals. If you combine this with understanding that there are certain things that managers do every day, which is inspire trust, they select and retain people, they manage performance, they're coaches, you take all of the people management skills, combine them with the moments of truth, and you layer in our leadership model, and that's where you get our Campbell Way for Managing. Campbell Way for Managing for new managers is a 6-month development experience. This experience includes individual learning, web-based learning, and classroom sessions. It actually runs a spectrum and begins with the manager as an individual and what they need to succeed, and then ending with how can you understand what other people need to succeed and help them get there. In addition to Campbell Way for Managing for new managers, we also have specific programs for experienced managers. When we approach manager quality with experienced managers, we have a philosophy that to truly embed a capability in our managers, we offer one program per year to build their skills in order to drive those moments of truth. So if you look at the question on this page, we try to answer how can we help our managers build or enhance their skills to deliver extraordinary workplace and marketplace results. There are 3 programs that we are currently running. First is selection, which is our interviewing and selection skills, coaching, and Symphony, which is our performance management program. I'm going to go into a few details on each one of these programs. First, selection. Selection program is based on behavioral interviewing, and we believe that this has several advantages. It focuses on job-related criteria. It uses past behavior to predict future behavior. It assesses both job fit and organizational fit. Avoids poor selection decisions that can be costly. Integrates effective interviewing skills. Improves decisions and makes a positive impression on applicants. This program is based on the fundamental belief that past behavior is the most reliable predictor to future performance. One of the tools that we share with managers and that we encourage them to leverage as they go back and work with people is the Situation Behavior Impact tool. This is a tool that is proprietary to Center for Creative Leadership, and we actually have a formal agreement and permission to use this model with them. This is a way of assessing the answers that individuals give you in an interview. For instance, what needed to be accomplished, what was the situation, what did the individual actually do, and then what was the impact or the outcome on that. So this is a tool that we share with managers during this selection training. Moving on to coaching, we actually use the Tao of Coaching written by Max Landsberg to inform our coaching program. This workshop focuses on building manager capability and developing employees both during one-on-one conversations through both constructive feedback as well as asking the right questions to challenge individual thinking. There are 3 tools and techniques that are covered in this program. First is the skill-will matrix, which is the conceptual model to understand where people are from a performance and learning perspective so that managers can adjust accordingly. The G.R.O.W model, which is a discussion framework to coach people around where they want and sometimes where they need to go. And then, again, the SBI tool, which is a tool for structuring and providing both positive and constructive feedback. A bit more on the G.R.O.W model. The G.R.O.W model, as Max Landsberg covers in his book, is goals, reality, options, and way forward. This G.R.O.W model actually conceptualizes how we make decisions and is a systematic way of organizing your thoughts in order to navigate challenges and achieve your goals. We encourage managers, and we share this with managers, to help them guide the conversations that they have with employees, to help them allow for time for feedback and for, more specifically, for the exploration of those options, that coaching back and forth and the questions to ask individuals to help them get to the aha themselves and then committing to the way forward. So those are a few tools that we use in our coaching program. Something we actually rolled out this year is our Symphony program, which is our performance management skills program. A little bit of background on this program. It was developed in partnership with various leading organizations and has been a continuous evolution of over 150,000 performance mastery system users. So there's a great amount of information and research that has gone into this program and has been mined from the work of some leading developers such as Advantage Performance Group, Root Learning, BTS, and Dr. Carl Binder. The learning objectives of the Symphony program are to understand the correlation between companies that excel in people management and those that excel in bottom line results. We look to give our managers a systematic process for leading peak performance, to plan and execute performance more effectively, and to identify and evaluate performance issues in a balanced and objective manner. The root desire in offering our managers this program is to get away from performance management as a 1 or 2 times a year event, but it's an ongoing, systematic, performance-driving behavior for our managers and for the employees. So it's in the ongoing analysis of performance gap, the ongoing redirection of individuals' performance. Those are a few things about our manager quality programs. I'd like to move on now up the pyramid a little bit to building leadership capability and ongoing development. As an organization, this continues to remain an area of opportunity for us. For example, this year we recently rolled out a pilot program for women's leadership, which is a 6-month experience that included everything from facilitated workshops, ongoing leadership cohorts, assessments, books, etc. So we're continuing to evolve in this space. But for now, there are actually several tools and techniques that we use for development, including things like Stephen Covey's Speed of Trust, Myers-Briggs, and 360-degree feedback. First, a little bit about trust. The Speed of Trust is a program that we offer to our new managers, but it's also something that we have used throughout the organization at all different levels. We use it in this way because in this book, Covey talks about rings of trust, from self-trust to relationship trust, organizational trust, market trust, and societal trust. And as you can see, inspiring trust is the first and foremost expectation of our leadership model. So it's something that we believe is applicable at any level of the organization. We tend to use this both informally, one-on-one with individuals, as well as more formally with team and group activities. In addition to that, self-awareness is a big component of this middle part of the pyramid, which is around self-awareness to help individuals understand themselves, how they prefer to lead, how they prefer to manage, as well as others. How do they want to be led? How do they want to be managed? There are several things that we do to help people with this self-awareness. And I'd like to turn it over to Debbie now to talk a little bit about the Myers-Briggs tool, which is a key tool that we use for this.
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, I'd love to give a brief overview on the MBTI. Over the past 50 years, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Personality Inventory, the MBTI, has helped millions of individuals throughout the world gain insights about themselves and also how they interact with other people. The MBTI assessment enables personal transformation by giving people a powerful tool for improving how they communicate, how they learn, and how they work. The purpose of the MBTI is to make the theory of psychological type, which is described by Carl Jung, understandable and useful in people's lives. The assessment was first developed in 1943 by Isabel Briggs Myers and her mother, Catherine Briggs. In 1975, CPP became the exclusive publisher of the MBTI. The MBTI determines people's preferences on 4 dichotomies: extroversion and introversion, which addresses where you get your energy; sensing and intuition, which is how you prefer to take in information; thinking and feeling, which is how you make decisions; and then judging and perceiving. How do you deal with the outer world? The assessment is based fundamentally on the various combinations of those preferences, resulting in 16 distinct personality types. The MBTI is the world's most popular personality assessment. It's being used by people in more than 100 countries, in businesses of all sizes, as well as by educators, government agencies, and by consultants. People appreciate the tool's positive approach to understanding differences. The tool is deceptively simple, but it's based on sound and enduring psychological theory. The MBTI is highly reliable and valid, and it's backed by ongoing global research and development. People who take the MBTI assessment often experience those aha moments as they come to better understand themselves and then how they approach work and also day-to-day life. Professionals like Emily make it a personality assessment of choice because people appreciate the tool's common language for appreciating interpersonal differences. There are numerous ways people apply the MBTI, and just to name a few, the MBTI can be used for communication, to decrease conflict, to help people adjust to change, decrease stress, and also increase innovation. Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Debbie. I think that's just a great segue into sharing a little bit about how I think about applying Myers-Briggs to different situations. Here you see a pyramid, and at the bottom there are two things, intro to type and type in organization. As you move up the pyramid, it requires a little bit more exposure to type as well as a little bit more of a willingness to look into yourself. So those that you find at the bottom of the period, like intro to type and type in organizations, is those intro, getting comfortable with type, understanding what those preferences are that Debbie talked about, and really truly feeling like your assessed type speaks to who you are and where you're most comfortable operating. Sessions such as innovation, communication, and teams, this can be done individually, but is often done in a group environment where you're taking type and that understanding of yourself and now seeking to understand others and how you can flex your type to help improve communication or drive to high performance in a team. Moving up, when you look at some of the applications here around change and emotional intelligence, conflict in the grip has to do with type and stress. This starts to require more of a flex to the areas of yourself where you might be very uncomfortable, where individuals will look inside themselves a little bit deeper. And then at the very top, that's just a little bit separated, are applications that are, I've learned, are really best done one-on-one, whereas everything else could be done one-on-one or in groups. This is just the way I think about applying type and how I've used type as a build. And one of the reasons why it is a tool that I go to for team building, for individual development, is because it does have all these applications and all these applications that build on each other, and that you can always learn something new about yourself and something new about the person who's been sitting next to you for 10 years. I'd like to flip it back over to Debbie now to talk a little bit about our FIRO-B tool.
Thanks, Emily. Well, the FIRO-B, which stands for Fundamental Interpersonal Relations Orientation Behavior, helps people understand their interpersonal needs and how those needs influence their communication styles and their behavior. For more than 50 years, the FIRO-B has helped people understand how they behave, how they affect other people, and also how they can be more effective in their own lives. The FIRO-B assessment is a valuable tool for increasing organizational performance. It reveals how interpersonal needs drive behaviors and how these needs can impact a person's ability to build trust, influence others, and create productive relationships. The FIRO-B measures interpersonal needs in 3 areas: inclusion, which is the need for belonging and participating in social activities; control, the need for influence, clear expectations, and instruction; affection, the need for connection to other people. The FIRO-B is frequently used to increase team performance, for conflict management, for coaching, and for leadership development. In regards to leadership development, by identifying a leader's style, the tool provides insight into how managers can become more effective by helping them meet the interpersonal needs of their team members. An improved understanding of interpersonal needs can help people form positive teams and have better individual working relationships with each other. The MBTI and the FIRO-B complement each other really well and are frequently used together. The MBTI allows individuals to understand who they are by identifying the 4 preferences that indicate how they get and direct their energy, how they take in information, how they make decisions, and how they deal with the external world. And the FIRO-B gives people a lens to view their behaviors. By measuring the interpersonal needs for inclusion, control, and affection, the FIRO-B targets specific, measurable interpersonal behaviors. Using the MBTI and the FIRO-B together enhances personal awareness and insight by providing a more complete picture of a person's personality and needs. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Debbie. Definitely some tools that we continue to use on our ongoing leadership development, along with another tool, which is our 360-degree feedback. Our 360-degree feedback that we use here at Campbell Soup is based specifically on our leadership model. So those 6 expectations of trust, direction, alignment, vitality, excellence, and results. Our tool includes feedback from managers, clients, peers, direct reports. It includes qualitative and quantitative feedback. And most importantly, this tool provides positive feedback, but as well as the blind spot feedback. And the way we define blind spots in our tool are the areas where the individual self-assesses or rates themselves higher in any one of our expectations than anybody else does, whether it's a manager, a peer, or a direct report. So by taking the understanding that individuals can get from very specific feedback around what our leadership expectations are and partnering them with the idea of self-awareness and what other people need and how they might be different, we can build a very robust way for these individuals to begin to develop their own personal leadership voice by leveraging their strengths, helping to improve their blind spots, and really seeking to understand what the needs are of others in the group and those they might be leading. So that's a little bit about that middle block. I'd like to move on to the top of our pyramid, which is CEO Institute and Mastering Leadership at the top. This particular program has evolved since its beginning, and we expect this program to continue to evolve as our new CEO takes the reins of Campbell Soup Company. I'd like to share a brief overview of the program. As you can see here, the individual's leadership voice overlapped with the expectations and behaviors of our leadership model creates effective leadership here at Campbell. Our CEO Institute is a 2-year mission-driven program that's focused on leadership development for executives with the explicit purpose of helping you find your leadership voice, but also inspiring others to find theirs. Great leaders might be born, but they're also made, and becoming a successful leader is a challenging endeavor that the CEO Institute provides participants with the opportunity to be intentional about leadership development and to discover their power to lead and realize their full potential as leaders. This is the framework of the modules within CEO Institute. As you can see, it's in an infinity sign, and this is purposeful because the leadership journey is ongoing. We believe that leadership is tested and is evolved over time. If you see here, Module 1 down in the lower left is about mastering the fundamentals, then moving to raising your sights and getting to the heart of leadership. These 3 modules are about the person finding their own leadership voice. It then moves on to growing your culture and aiming for mastery, which is our programs focused on helping others find theirs. And again, it's an ongoing evolution and is flexible so that as these individuals come up with new challenges in the market, new challenges within the organization, new challenges within their team, that they can continue to evolve and flex their leadership style. I can't talk about leadership at Campbell Soup without talking a little bit about Doug Conant. Doug Conant, as I said earlier in the presentation, recently stepped down as Campbell's CEO and president, and he has actually written a book called Touch Points, along with Met Norgard. In this book, they actually argue that the secret to mastering leadership is taking advantage of and embracing those interruptions and other incidental points of contact as a method to promote the company's values, purpose, and agenda. Taking advantage of these, what could be seemingly small interruptions, can actually help produce higher employee engagement, improved growth in revenue, and better customer relationships. Doug's touchpoint model that he talks about in this book has 3 components and involves the head, heart, and hands to connect with employees in a way that not only enhances their individual performance, but actually transforms them into a valued member of the team. So I just really couldn't talk about leadership without talking about him. And Denise is someone who is embraced and is moving forward with a very focused energy on continuing the talent management and leadership journey. So we're very happy about that. Wrapping up, I talked a little bit about how we think about leadership at all levels of the organization, beginning with manager quality and embedding in people those skills around managing others and driving performance and being a coach. Then I moved up to talking a little bit about those tools that we use as people start to emerge as leaders and find their leadership voice around self-awareness, around feedback, and using Myers-Briggs. And then, of course, the CEO Institute, which is mastering leadership at the top levels of the organization. All of our programs and everything that we work on are naturally organic. We continue to grow and adapt them over time as we continue to have the outside-in perspective and balance the needs of the organization along with the needs of the individuals. I'd like to turn it over now for any questions you might have.
Great. Thank you, Emily. We have a whole bunch of questions.
Okay.
Let me start with this one. Do you feel your model is interchangeable with a mid-size or small company?
I do think it's interchangeable with a mid-size or small company. I think that thinking about leadership at all levels and the basic purpose and things we're trying to accomplish at each of those levels is absolutely transferable. Different companies, depending on your culture and depending on your size, you might change the content in what those are, but I think that it's the framework and the purpose and the objectives is absolutely transferable.
Okay, thank you. There's lots of questions coming in right now.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of them on management and talent management programs globally and how you deploy them globally, and if you work with other countries and how that works within the talent management process. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. All of the programs I talked about, the manager quality programs, as well as some of the tools that we use in the CEO Institute, they are all global. So the group that I talked about that is headed up by Jackie Scanlon reaches every country that we have offices in and that we have people in. So the challenge is we have one or two individuals who do actually travel around to places like Belgium and Australia to help those people conduct the programs, but we do have a network of what we call organizational effectiveness people who are linked in to our world headquarters here and continuing to drive the same message. And that's been important as we try and drive a global culture, that we reach out and that we're sensitive to not only the needs of those organizations, but also what their business strategies are as well.
Thank you. Another question is, the program sounds well organized and it encompasses many areas. How many people were involved in creating the program? If you can talk about how long it took and when it started.
Sure. I can't really say that there's one start date for everything. A few of these have evolved over time, but what I can say is that over the past couple years, we've had a focused energy around talent management, and that center group has 7 people in it. However, there are people who are focused on, as I said, organizational effectiveness in Pepperidge Farm, in Arnott's, which is in Australia, so that there is a global network of folks who are continuing to evolve these. So surprisingly, it's a relatively small group of people with the input from people who are close to the business, because that's what's important, is maintaining that connection to the business. The question of how long did it take, and that's different for everything. What I talked about for the new manager program, developing that program, it took about a year. Rolling it out, we're still doing. The programs around selection, coaching, and performance management, the Symphony courses, those take a while to develop, and we rolled out coaching a few years ago. We are rolling out the Symphony this year, and we rolled out selection several years ago. So we're very prudent about taking on what will truly impact and make a difference in those moments of truth.
Thank you. And as you mentioned moments of truth, there are a couple questions asking if you can explain that a little bit more and maybe give a couple examples of that.
Sure. Moment of truth, the way we define moments of truth are those moments and those conversations that managers have with employees that have an exponential impact on that employee's engagement and performance, and thinking about issues and moments such as onboarding, promotion discussions, etc. Interestingly, what we learn is that there are oftentimes less attention paid to what managers consider positive conversations. So, for instance, a promotion conversation or a positive compensation discussion. Those moments we also think should be handled exactly the same, with the same amount of preparation and focus as moments that might be a little more challenging for managers, because they can make an employee feel really good and motivate. You don't want an employee to find out that they were promoted because an announcement went out about their promotion. We definitely want to make sure that managers are prepared and able to leverage these great moments, as well as prepare for the ones that might be a little more challenging.
Thank you. We have a couple questions also on measurement of effectiveness. Do you have any tools to measure the effectiveness of the programs, and how do you go about that?
Sure. We have some tools to measure effectiveness. Myers-Briggs actually has an ROI tool that you can help measure the effectiveness of using the tool. We do have qualitative and quantitative surveys, so there's always that moment of the trainings happened and what did people think of it. We actually now are starting to have a focused effort of the behavioral change when people get back to their world. So continuing to reinforce things like Symphony with additional manager tools and the behavioral shift of are they using what they've learned. And the CEO Institute, there are multiple measures within that, everything from 360 feedback to interviews to constructive feedback as well. So depending on the program and what the purpose and hopeful objectives are of that program helps drive how we measure it, whether it's a very focused survey that somebody answers, or if it's more of an ongoing behavioral shift, understanding of what people are doing out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Here's another question. Can you recommend a starting point? So if somebody has a smaller company and they want to start adding in some of the leadership strategies that you have, where would you suggest they start? Where would you see as one of the most focal points or the most important?
I have a couple thoughts.
It's probably a hard question.
Yeah, so my thoughts are, I think that when you think about leadership development and you think about how, with our talent management group, it's very important to link whatever you do to the business strategy and to the business needs, and to understand what programs you're putting together or what tools or techniques you're introducing support meeting those strategic goals. So using that as your end point and understanding what you need to accomplish and what the purpose of your program is, I think will then help drive how you want to implement things. My recommendation is always to go with something first that fits into your culture, and if, for instance, if the culture is not used to something like a 360 tool or not a feedback or coaching culture, maybe start with creating that culture first and then introduce a 360 tool to support it. So I guess my answer is it depends on the strategic direction and the culture where you would start, but really understanding that outside-in perspective is where will help you figure out where to go first.
Okay, thank you. Here's a question regarding the CEO Institute. They want to know what level you target for the CEO Institute, and do you find that the 2-year time commitment is challenging for the participants?
So the level we target with this program has typically been vice presidents, business general manager, individuals, so those people who are leading businesses or leading functions in the organization. That's what we typically do. The 2-year commitment actually has not been something that's been difficult because the way this is balanced, it's balanced that there are events. So over the 2 years, there are events where each class of participants will be off-site for a day or two and go through a module and go through some self-discovery and what have you. But then between one event and another, there is what we consider a pretty good pace of continued work on the leadership voice. So we're able to understand what these individuals have as their quote day job and be able to make it so that these are impactful and timely ongoing development practices for them. So we actually haven't had any issues with that at all.
Okay, thank you. There's a bunch of questions also about the Women's Leadership Program, specifically around what's the program focused on, how did you decide to run that program, and what are some of the components in the program, if you could speak to that a little bit.
Okay, I can speak to some of that. This is a program that we piloted this year, and within the program there were people who came in and would speak to this group of women. We had workshops for them about understanding, what their needs as a leader were and then where they wanted to be and sort of a gap in there. What we've learned that has been the most impactful coming out of this program was this creation of what we're calling cohorts, or these groups of people who now have created an interesting bond with each other, that they've now become a support network for each other, things to bounce things off for each other, and something that we're looking to continue to support and drive forward for all of our participants. I don't have the detail in front of me about the specific topics that were covered. However, I just have the high overview of some of what the pilot did. So what the talent management group is doing now is assessing the feedback and understanding what worked and what didn't for that program to inform us going forward. And they identified this as an opportunity. That middle part of the pyramid still, we do want to do more there. And coming out of our affinity networks, we do have a Women's of Campbell's affinity networks around, women in the workplace. And this is something that, has helped, as these women come together, it sort of spawned another way of thinking about, what can we do for this group of people. So more to come. I'm sorry I don't have more detail on that, but it's more to come.
Okay, good. Thank you. There's a couple of questions also on social media, and do you use it internally to connect with people in the program? Do you use blogs or SharePoints or anything like that? Yes.
So, like any other company, Campbell's has an intranet, and we have our own type of internal social networking that people are able to pull together and have communities that you can have conversations, you can post things. So we are leveraging technology and that ability to connect with each other internally. Yep. Very good. Thank you, Emily. There's also a few questions on how you market and promote the leadership model and the different programs you have within Campbell's. Sure. So our leadership model has been around for several years now, and we actually do have a whole course on it called Bringing the Leadership Model to Life. And we have courses for managers on that as well as for individual contributors. And that's something that new employees go through when they join the organization. We also have it as expectations and how people go about doing their work. So when we think about driving performance, when we think about not only measuring people on what they accomplish, we also drive performance in the leadership model as well.
Great. Thank you. There's lots of questions flying in. Do you have any success stories or anecdotes that you can share from your CEO Institute?
There are some. Actually, it's interesting because in putting this presentation together, I did speak to several people who are currently part of CEO Institute, and a lot of what they had to say was specifically around being able to have the permission and to take that very focused time on themselves, on finding their leadership voice, and finding, helping others find theirs. So I would say the anecdotes are, I love to be able to slow down and really focus on myself. And the fact that CEO Institute can do that for folks, not only give them the time, give them the permission, but also give them some tools to help do that. That's pretty much what I heard from folks, and really happy to be a part of the class. So again, when you think about what I said about the women's cohort, these are people who get to get in a room with people who are kind of experiencing the same things and bounce things off each other and really talk about what leadership means.
Great, thank you. Here's a question that we can both answer.
Okay.
When using FIRO-B and the MBTI, what are some ways to combine the two assessments for leadership?
Okay.
Would you like to go first on that, or would you like me to?
Why don't you go first?
Okay. Well, with combining the FIRO-B and the MBTI, they are great assessments to use together because, as I was speaking about before, the MBTI really looks at your personality type, and then the FIRO-B really looks at your interpersonal needs and how those needs relate out into behavior within the workplace. When you use the two assessments together, it gives you a much better, obviously, picture of a person. For leadership development, you can use the tools to help improve communication, problem solving, to help look at leadership styles, how leaders handle change, how they handle stress, and how they can better motivate their teams. So for an example, if you had a leader who on the Myers-Briggs was introverted and on the FIRO-B had a low need for inclusion, he or she may not have a lot of ambition to be hanging out in lunchroom, chatting with coworkers. They might prefer to spend some more time alone to reflect. They may not feel like they really want to participate in all social activities with their team. And if that leader has a team that has a preference for extroversion and a high need for inclusion, the team may feel like they are left out from their leader. They may want more social interaction. They may want to talk over ideas with their leader. And because of that conflict, they may become unhappy and a little cranky and irritated at their leader. So that's one way you can look at using the MBTI and the FIRO-B for teams and leadership. And for researchers, there's a great, and I don't know, Emily, if you've used this before, there's a great report. It's the leadership report using the FIRO-B and MBTI, and it actually merges the information from the MBTI and the FIRO-B to give a picture of a leader and their strengths and areas for growth.
Yep. I actually have used that report, and I also find that when you use that report, it gives a great window into that person for themselves. And if you couple that with something that is aspirational, so maybe it's a leadership concept, or maybe it's a book that you read. There's a few things that people are doing. For instance, there's a book called Multipliers that's out there right now, written by Liz Weitzman, that talks about leaders as multiplier of intelligence in an organization. So if you understand that that's something you want to build in yourself, this tool can help you understand, or leaders understand, well, this is where I'm most comfortable. Here are some gaps. Here's where I want to be. Now what can I do to get there? So it's always taking the great information that these tools give you and applying it in a practical way that works for people.
Agreed. It's 5 minutes up, so let's take one more question.
Okay.
There actually been a couple questions on the transfer between Doug and your new CEO. In regard to, did the strategic direction change at all, and what was that like for the employees?
That's a great question. I think, and what I know being here is that it's been a wonderful transition. We are lucky in that Denise has actually been with Campbell since 2003. She's someone that's worked with Doug Conant for years. She's very much a part of the organization. She's very much seen as a leader herself in her own right. With Denise coming on board, the strategic direction hasn't shifted significantly. It's we've had the crystallization of those 3 key strategies to move forward, and she still has several of the same commitments as far as developing people and engaging individuals. But I know that, you know, as with any leader, in any point in time, you know, companies are in whatever position they are in. So she's, you know, looking to the future for Campbell Soup Company as a leader in soup and simple meals and global baked snacks and healthy beverages, and what can we do to continue to drive that in our organization. So net, it's been a great thing, and she's really been able to have a pretty seamless and energizing transition.
That's great. So we're just shy of 2 o'clock, so I'm going to stop here. I want to thank everybody so much who submitted questions. There were a lot of questions that came in, and I am sorry that we can't get to them all. I'd also like to thank you, Emily, for coming and speaking with us, and also thank the group for taking time out of their busy day. Emily, thank you so much. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And if you have any questions regarding the Myers-Briggs or the 5OB, you can contact us at our website at www.ctp.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you so much, Emily, and I hope everybody had a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.